this how do we handle our application? So how does it exactly syncs with the Selenium tool? Okay. So for that we have discussed few things called synchronization methods for handling the web pages as well as like elements of the application. Okay. So we discussed about page load. Page load will help you to load the page in a given period of time. Okay. So I mean like given period of time. So if you want to check for a particular page, it should get loaded within 30 seconds of time. So it should load in that given period of time. Otherwise, it's going to throw the timeout exception. So likewise, we discussed about implicit wait. So implicit wait, what it does, it's going to apply its duration, whatever defined duration would be there. So it will be applied for all the elements on the web page. All elements on the web page. Get no such element exception. So this is the exception that we receive in case of implicit waits. Where do we define this implicit wait? After loading the driver. Then we have like explicit wait. So explicit wait is explicitly applied on the element. Okay. Only on the element at a time. Element and based on the conditions. Okay. So we apply some expected conditions. So if we meet with that condition, then it's going to return that element. Otherwise, it's going to throw exception. Like there will be two exceptions, right? One is like timeout exception. Another one is like we get some whatever the condition. If it is not meeting the condition, not met condition. So this is like not met expected condition. So this is the exception that we are going to get. Okay. So we saw one example. Like I was trying to find the element on the web page. Okay. So visibility. Like I was checking for the visibility, but what we were trying to see that what we were actually looking forward to get that element is the presence of that element. But I gave the expected condition as like visibility. Instead of visibility, I was trying for presence. So in that case, what happened now? So it was like throwing timeout exception, but that element is there in the there is a DOM. Okay. So but condition is failing. It says like expected is fluent wait. Fluent wait is like it is part of expected, like explicit wait. That's nothing but we check for expected condition as well as like it's going to ignore some exceptions. If we get any exceptions in between trying to find that particular element, okay, so it can be anything. Let us take like no such element exceptions, tail element exception. So those exceptions will be ignored. Okay, so I showed you like what are the different sites and what are the different examples that we have to look as part of our weights. Okay, so I'll just recap those things. We have those here. So here you can see we have a page load timeout. Okay. So if that particular page is not loaded within a given period of time in within a 1 minute, so it's going to throw exception here. Okay. So that's nothing but timeout exception. So if I give some, for example, say if I'm giving some 0 minutes here, okay. So now if I try to execute this program and see what is the time difference and how much time it has taken to load the application. I'm not waiting for that page to get loaded. Okay, and time is like 0 minutes. Okay, so let's stop it. I can re-execute the same program. And to this, let me just close it again. Let me restart this. Okay. It may take some time. Yeah. Now it started executing. So here you can see the exception. It says like, timeout exception, because we are trying to find that particular element within 0.00 seconds. So that is the reason why it is throwing the exception. When I say 1 minute, and I see how much time it will take. Like we are giving some period of time, like 60 seconds of time to get the page loaded. Okay, within that 60 seconds, if page doesn't get loaded, then it's going to throw the exception. Okay. See now, it has highlighted this element. That's nothing but it has loaded properly. Now you can see it has taken 4.9 seconds of time. Okay. So this is about page load time. Okay. So this should be defined before we use this driver.get method. Okay. Implicit wait is like this wait will be applied for all the elements on the web page. For example, we are trying to wait for each and every element, like we are giving 30 seconds. If any element found within that given period of time, for example, some elements may take 2 seconds, 3 seconds, some may take 4 seconds, and few may take 25 seconds. But what it does is like it will wait for that particular element. Okay. So if for every element, this 30 seconds is like default time. So if it gets found within this 30 seconds, that is fine. If it is not, then it's going to throw the exception. Okay. So for example, you can see now we are trying to highlight some element here. And after that, I want to see that how much time it has taken to execute that particular element. I will like find that element and try to execute that script. Now you see it has taken only this many seconds. Okay, let's try to see that if we get some exception, it's going to throw the exception. We did not get any exception here. See, it is taking only this many seconds. Okay, some 366 seconds. Okay, current 366 milliseconds. So time milliseconds, I'm just putting it here. Okay, so yeah, here you can see if it is like any exception, then it's going to show how much time it has taken. So for example, I'm putting 1 2 here, or 2 1 something. Okay, so this is like invalid XBAR. Now let's see that how much time it will take. Okay, it will take 30 seconds. That's nothing but the dedicated time is like 30 seconds. It will try for 30 seconds. After that, it will throw exception. Here we have that element, but we have given an invalid XBAR. Should have reduced the time, but it will take 30 seconds now. You can see how much time it is taking now. See, the difference is like more than 30 seconds. That's nothing but 30,000 milliseconds. Okay. So it will throw the exception when this element is not found. Okay, let me show you another example here in case we have this example already, right? For example, if you want to click on it. Okay, we found that element. After that, I want to click on. Immediately we get to see that element found, and it will just click that you want to perform some action. It will click and it will immediately close. See what it does is like it's nothing but it's going to identify that element and it will just click on that. Okay, also like in highlighting. After that, I'm just clicking on that element. Okay, so if you want to perform any actions, like if you want to wait for that element and the given duration is like 30 seconds. implicit weight. Okay, this will be applied for each and every element on the web page. And we'll go to the explicit weight. Explicit weight is like, as we discussed, we are going to create object for this WebDriver weight class. Okay. So what is WebDriver weight class? I'll be attaching this. How do we attach the source file? So here you can see when you just mouse over on this particular control and mouse over on it, you'll see the open declaration. Click on it, you'll get to see this. Actually, if the source is there, it will show the source. If it's not there, it will ask you to attach it, go to this external file, external location, and you can see this is the source. Or this is like, we should have this external source here. So you can see this is like 4.8.0. This is the source actually. Let me see if we have any other things here. Support sources. Yeah, sorry, that is support source. So it should also have that source attached here. So you can just click on it. It has been moved, I guess. Okay. So now what you have to do is like, for example, if you don't have any source here, so what you need to do is like, if you want to see what is the actual methods or what is this constructor and all, you have two ways. One is like, you can just select this and click control. You can see this is like open declaration. Okay. So just you can click on this open declaration, it will take you this one. If this source is not attached, click on that attached source, then you can go to the location where the Selenium is available. Like you can see here. Yes, Selenium 4.9.0. Okay. So you can select like this will also help you, like, it will drill down all the APIs that whatever we have in Selenium. Another one is like we have a support source. Okay, first you try to attach this one. If it's not working, then you can go and try to attach this support source. Okay. So this will have all the details about the jar files, like all the details about the classes within that jar file. Okay. So here you can see WebDriver weight. So it is extending internally Fluent weight. Okay. Fluent weight. So what it does is like WebDriver weight will have the constructor here. Okay. So you can see public constructor, WebDriver, and the time duration. If you give the time WebDriver and the time duration, then what it does is like internally it will go and use this. See here, in case you can have like no duration of milliseconds, it will wait for this milliseconds. Okay. So this is nothing but a constant. Again, this constant is coming from Fluent weight. Okay. So this has like, 500 is like default sleep timer. If you don't give anything, it will take 500 milliseconds. Okay. So now what it does is like internally, it's going to set up the duration and the timeouts. Okay. So that is coming from the Fluent weight. So Fluent weight will have this set of details, duration of this particular element to get loaded within a given period of time. And this like sleep time is like system sleeper. So what is a system sleeper? So it will take the time duration, like get dot sleep, and it will, whatever time that you are going to give, it will sleep. And like it will wait for that element to. So after that, we have another thing I showed you, like driver, duration, timeout, and duration sleep. Timeout is like you are going to do 30 seconds and sleep for every like 5 seconds. It will wait for that particular element. Again, it will go and it just nothing but pull time. Okay, pull time. So again, you can see there are a lot of other things that we can use, but whichever is suitable for us that we have to use. Okay, for WebDriver weight, that we are just creating the object. After that, what it does is like we are going to use a method called until. This we have until is like a, it is kind of like a, say here you can see this is nothing but a method. Okay. But actually this is not a method. Let me just take from where it is coming. It is coming from the weight class, weight interface. Okay. So this is the method. Yeah. So this is a method, and you can see this is nothing but weight interface. Within that weight interface, it is getting implemented in which class? Fluent weight. Again, it is coming from the Fluent weight. So internally expected like explicit weights and expected conditions are coming from Fluent weight itself. Okay. So again, inside this util, you can see, if you go to this util, again, we have the expected conditions. Okay. Go back to this, and again, expected conditions are coming from Fluent weights. Okay. So that's nothing but this is a class. Again, it's part of like a Fluent weights. So we are going to call this use with for helping out to the Fluent weight. Okay. So here you can see we are going to apply some like whatever conditions that we have, and we are going to apply those conditions. This is nothing but the current URL. What is that URL? And it's going to return that. If you want to apply some conditions on that, so it will be applied. It will be applied internally. Okay, so everything is related to the fluent weight. So that is the reason why what we are doing is like we are just creating object for this WebDriver weight class, and we are calling these methods. Okay, so weight dot until is like until again it is coming from the fluent weight, but this is until is part of weight class. You can see now what it is doing is like extending, say ignoring these classes, and you can see there are a lot of other things that will be implemented here. See, back, yeah, fluent weight implements weight. Okay, so internally it is implementing weight. Again, until is like a method, and this method we are passing the parameters. What is that we are passing? We are passing the function. So what is that function that we are getting? We are getting it. We are getting the function expected conditions. Okay, so this is nothing but it will return you some Boolean value. Okay, so go back, go to this expected class, and you can see presence of elements. So what it does? It's going to return you the new expected condition element. That's nothing but it is returning the element. So likewise, it will few return elements and few return the Boolean values. Okay, so you can see expected conditions, and we have web elements, Let's say like it's nothing but it's returning the Boolean. Okay, expected conditions. So if it is found, then it like see everything is like kind of a Boolean here. See, some will return you the list, some will return you the web element, some will return you the Boolean. Okay, so it's based on like visibility of element. See, if that element is visible. Okay, so let me go to the visibility of element located. See what it does is like if we are using this one visibility of element located by, so internally what it does is like it will go and try to find out that element. See, apply is again from where it is coming. So it is coming from the expected conditions, but it is part of like again it's part of like a function. Okay, so function is like again see everything is interrelated. Weights, fluent weight, expected conditions, until WebDriver weight. So these are like interrelated. Everything is like you can see. Go and see what is that implemented class that we have seen. This class is like separately we have, okay, it has like separately designed now. But in case of fluent weight, we are going to call this condition. This condition will return you some web element. So this is nothing but wait dot until. So what it does is like it's going to get you the web element, and this web element will be returned back. Okay. So what is the expected? What is the return type of this? Is like see, this is kind of like a. So it is part of which interface? Weight interface. Okay, weight interface. These are nothing but templates, guys. Okay, what it returns is like it may return a web element, or it may return an element and of type. It can be anything. Okay, so we'll discuss about this T and all. Okay, B, T and all. So these are kind of like a templates. Okay, so what is that? It's going to return a C. Again, it's going to apply some condition is true. It will return a Boolean value. Okay, so if it is true, then it will return that particular element back. So again, here we can capture into a web element. Okay, so what is the return type of expected condition in terms of WebDriver weight? It's like a element. Okay, so web element. If I'm taking this one as like image is equals to, see what it is doing now. It is returning the web element. Okay, so if you want to perform any actions on it, we can perform the actions. Okay. Here, do you see one thing? So yesterday we were discussing about it. So we were checking for the visibility of element. Okay, if I try to check the visibility of this element, then what it does is like it will wait for that element to get loaded within given period of time. Okay, for example, if you are taking, I'll take 10 seconds now. First, we'll see what is the exception. Then we'll see what are the things that we have adjusted as part of this method. Okay, so this method, what it does is like it will go and check for this XPath in the web page. That's nothing but it's trying to identify the web element on the web page. But this web element is like not visible, but it's like presence of that web element in the DOM. Okay, so let's see that. If you want to see, go here, open the web page, and you have to enter the URL. So what is that URL? This is the URL. So what is the condition that we are putting it here? Is like when we click on that particular element, get dynamic data. So there is a one. Okay, we can restore this. Observe carefully, guys. So what we try to do is like we see WebDriver wait is like it will wait for that particular element based on the condition. Okay. So what we did, so we just clicked on it and we were trying to check the visibility of that element. Okay? I'm just using this inspect developer tool to identify the element now. And take this. What is that? This is the X path. And I'm going to put it here. Now you see, you can able to identify that element, but it is not visible on the web page. So it is not visible on the web page. Okay. So this is something like some tags are given here. So within the tag, this image is embedded. And you can see this one. But what I was trying yesterday is like on Friday, Saturday, sorry. Okay. So what we were trying to identify is like we were trying to check whether the visibility of that element is like there on the like whether can we see that element on the web page. Okay, so that is a condition that we have put here. But it is not visible, but it is present. Like it's nothing, but it is present in the DOM. You can see this is like 1 of 1. Okay, we are getting the matching element ID. So let's go and try to check what happens when we try to give the wrong method for identifying that element on the web page. That's the expected condition. We are giving the expected condition as like visibility. Okay. Now we see it will throw the exception here. So what kind of exception we get is like after 10 seconds, it will throw the exception. See. What is that exception we are getting here is like timeout exception. Okay, timeout exception. Expected condition is not met. Okay, expected condition failed. So when I give here presence of element located by, okay. So now I'm going to check only presence of that element in DOM. Okay, DOM is nothing but document object model where all the element properties will be there. Okay, so now you go and see. Simply it will go and identify the image. So it clicked on it and it's waiting for that BR. Now it identified and closed it. Okay, it will be faster, guys. Okay, so it will identify and close it. So if you want to see, I'll just put some thread.sleep here. I'm just repeating this class because this is very important and a lot of interview questions will be asked in this particular topic. Now you see it is highlighted in red border and it will close it. Okay, so that's nothing but presence of element is working fine. Okay, so we need to give the proper conditions, expected conditions on the web element. Okay, so if you try to see this, for example, if you have some element to be clickable, okay, so we can wait for that element to get loaded, or for example, if you have something, you can try on the different sites here. I'll tell you what are the sites, and you can take the same examples and give the clickable element. Okay, so it's nothing but let's. So this is the site, let's code it.com. So here you can see it will show and edit. See, disabled, enabled. Okay, so enabled is like now this particular element is enabled. Disabled is like we cannot enter any data. Okay, enable is like we can enter data. So hide and show. Okay, so we will discuss about these things. Okay, is displayed, is enabled. So these are the different methods that we have. Preconditions, what we say. Okay, preconditions. So we need to check the preconditions. For example, if you want to, we were talking about something this is enabled, right? So if this is like clickable, okay, clickable, hide, show. If for example is displayed here, so we can use those methods and we can use also conditions for this. Okay, so you see now it is like is visible. It's not visible. Okay, when I click on show element, now it is visible. So we can enter the data. Okay, so here also you can try the same thing. Okay, so here it's like element clickable or not. It's not clickable. Okay, if you click on this, you'll click it, but what is that? You cannot enter the data in it. Okay, so to enter X, there are a lot of conditions here. So whichever conditions is visible for us, that condition we can use. So for example, if you want to see the conditions, you can just click on this dot. After that, you can see a lot of conditions are there. Okay, element to be clickable, element selectable, frames to be available, visibility of element, invisibility of the element, and presence of element. Say text to be entered, so text to be present in the element. So these are different methods that we have. Okay, so most of the times we use visibility of the element, because after visibility of the element we can perform some actions. Okay, so these are the things that we have inside this expected conditions, and expected conditions like parameter of until. Okay, until method. So this until method is coming from wait, and this wait method is like we are calling it from the WebDriver wait. Okay, WebDriver wait is a class. Okay, so all it is kind of like a chained method that we are going to use for the WebDriver wait. So this is explicit wait. This explicit wait can be applied on a single element. Okay, but implicit wait is like it will be applied on all the elements of the web page. Okay. So if you want to see the documentation of it, you can directly see the documentation here in the waits. Okay, so explicit wait and directly it has given here. See, initializing and wait till element become clickable. Timers. That's the thing. But here he is using like element to be clickable. And what is it? What is it returning? It is returning the web element. Okay. So once we return the web element, then we are going to it may click, or it's like it will be visible. Then after what it does, like it's going to give the text here. Okay, text. Okay. So this is like about documentation, Selenium documentation. We have another ways also. We can do it with the help of lambda expressions. Here we have driver is equals to driver. So driver is pointing to the driver dot find element. So this is smaller kind of notation. This is kind of like a bigger. So here we are identifying it, and then we are performing some action. Okay. So we need to create object for this. But here it is like we are creating the object, but what we are trying to do is like we are using until directly we are using dot until and all. So here also we can use the same thing. It's all up to us, like how do we want to use it. So expected condition is also kind of class, you can say, because it's a quite common occurrences of the DOM, and you will check the list of things. Okay. So basically these are like listed down, but there are a lot of things you can go and check in the documentation. So yeah, let's go to the explicit fluent waits now. So we looked into the explicit waits. We are going to check into the fluent wait. So fluent wait is like, it's kind of like a wait. So what it does is like, it's going to wait for that particular element, and it will ignore few exceptions here. Okay, it is similar to the pooling also. WebDriver wait is nothing but it's kind of like so what I'm trying to do is like wait of type generic. Okay, what weights I'm applying. Okay, what weight I'm trying to consider. Let us take like, this is kind of like, what is this? This is an interface, right? So wait is an interface. So what it is expecting? It is expecting some kind of like, see, the argument to pass any function called. Okay, so what it is doing is like we are calling some function here. WebDriver is kind of like what I want to get is like, I want to get the WebDriver generic, kind of like object that I want to store. Okay, so this is a WebDriver generic, and I want to get the object of that particular WebDriver. After that, what I'm going to do is like I'll apply the kind of methods here. Okay, so for this, what I'm going to do is like I'll just create an object for this particular interface of WebDriver. So this fluent wait, what it does is like it will return you. So it's going to return you the this itself it is returning. That's nothing but fluent wait of type WebDriver with timeouts. And you want to give this particular timeouts. Okay, duration is like how much duration you want to wait for that particular element. Okay. So here you can see there are different number of constructors that we have, and we have like different methods that we can it will be returning back. So in constructor doesn't return anything here, right? So what it is doing is like public. Here what it is kind of like a return type, and this is a method. Okay, so here we have a constructor. Let me just show you. There is a constructor. Yeah, public fluent constructor. Okay, constructor doesn't return anything, but here these are the methods. Okay, so public, return type, and a method type. Okay, so with the timeout, it's going to return you the fluent wait. So that fluent wait, from where it is coming? So it's coming from, let's see, this timeout. Timeout is like again a different duration. So duration would be returned back this timeout. Okay. So that's the thing, but fluent wait itself, it will return this particular wait, whatever wait we are trying to wait for that particular element. Okay. So based on the duration, we get some fluent wait. After that, what we are trying to do is like, we want to use that wait. Okay. So we want to use that wait in our program here. See, fluent weight, it will return you the weight itself. Okay, it will return you the weight itself of type WebDriver. I mean to say that on which particular driver you want to wait. Okay, okay. I've taken like complete driver. I'm taking as like a weight, and after that I'm applying some set of conditions on that. Okay, so here what it does is like it's going to return in the web element. Here also we can return the web element, but the thing is like what I'm doing is like separately I'm just returning the weight. I'm going to use this weight, and based on that I want to wait for that particular element. Here I'm giving 5 seconds. See, the duration is like 5 seconds pooling duration, and with the timeout of 30 seconds. This also we can manage. Okay, how do we do it? Is like we can just give the duration D or not D. We have already this duration, right? So I'll give duration time and duration full seconds. So you can pass it here. Full seconds. Just making it dynamic. So it's all depends on like when do you call the method. So you can give the durations. So here you have to pass this time. So what is the time that you want to pass here? 30 seconds sign. 5 seconds is like pooling period. But how do we pass them? So we have to use the duration dot of seconds 30 and duration of seconds 5. Okay, so now you see we made it dynamic. So here also if you don't want to pass this, so it's all based on us, like again we can go and use this. Okay, so here duration, and I'm going to say time duration. So it's all like we want to make more dynamic. So here, so directly I'm going to pass it as like time, comma. So now it's all up to us, like here, how much time you want to wait for that particular element. Okay, so we are making it more dynamic. It's kind of like we made a separate method. Okay, so here we have full seconds, and here we have this is time. See, now we made it more dynamic. Okay, nothing is like we are putting something like a static. So it's the duration, like for example, if you want to apply some 30-second duration with 5 seconds pooling for this element, it will work. If you want to try, if you want to identify some other elements and you want to apply some 20 seconds for that, that this element can load it fastly, and duration would be like you're going to put that pooling duration is like 2 seconds. If it get finds in 2 seconds, it will just break it and it will come out of it. Okay, that's the thing. But this fluent weight will be like applied only for 2 seconds, like whatever the web element it may be. Whatever the web element we have, and like how many seconds, like 2 seconds is like there could be a chances of getting that element identified in 2 seconds. It will only wait for that particular element for 2 seconds and it will come. And like rest of the seconds would be like again it will be vanished. Okay, so it will be wiped out. So, and if you want to apply this fluent weight on different web elements, that is also quite possible. We can apply it. Okay, so that is the reason why I've written it a separate method here. So private, why I have written private is like I don't want to call this method directly. So this method is being called in. This method is like when we try to apply some weights. So this method will help you to get that weights, whatever weight for that we want to apply. Okay, so if I say fluent weight x dot c. Now we don't get to see that. So within this class we are trying to create, we are trying to call. That is the reason why we are able to see this private. But if you try to call this method outside of the class, then you don't get to see that private method. Okay, so that is nothing but access modifiers that we are using. Okay, so here you see, it will ask you for the web element, what type of web element that you have, and on which web element you want to give the wait period. Okay, so and the duration and the pool time. Okay, so once you call this, it's going to call this method, and this method internally calls this get method, get fluent method. This get fluent method will return you the wait on this particular WebDriver type. Again, it will go back and it will apply some conditions here. Okay, so here we can apply the conditions. You want to click on this element, you can click on it. Okay, and here also you can just put some different methods also. Wait, get wait. Otherwise, you can say wait for element. So I'm just creating different set of methods. Element for clickable. You can apply this wait here. Okay. So likewise, I'm going to create another method. Wait for element presence. Likewise, I can create a number of methods, but we are using only one fluent method. Okay. So here we say presence of element located. Presence of element. Can use presence of element. So it's not accepting the web. Here we have a web element, but it is in nested. So you can make it as like presence of. So what is this? This is not a web element. This is a by class. It is expecting. Okay, it's expecting the XPath. Okay, so for that we can just pass it as like by. Okay, so it's going to return what it is returning now. So we have to return the web element. So for that, what I'm going to do is like I'll just create a web element here. Equal to wait dot web element. I'm going to return this element. Okay, likewise we'll write the functions here. Okay, so based on the parameters that we are trying to pass it as like pass it for this particular condition, we have to define them. Again, here I'm just defining by because it can be anything by dot XPath, by dot ID, whatever it is like. I can use anything. If I say XPath, then I have to only pass the XPath instead of doing that one. So what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to pass anything here. Like when we are trying to identify this element, see, but I have to pass no. I can pass by dot XPath. Okay, so some duration 30 seconds or 40 seconds and 5 seconds of period. Okay, so this is nothing but it is wait for element presence. See now, happily you can change it. So what it is returning. Okay, so we have duration, right? So we have to give the duration, otherwise it will throw the exception here. See now you can give it as like 40 seconds. Fine. Okay, if you want to wait for other elements, clickable is like it is accepting the web element. And if you want to find out other element, which is like presence of element with ID, directly you can give the ID. If you want to give it as like CSS selector, so you can give the CSS selector. So now we made it as like a dynamic. Okay, so that's nothing but you can pass anything here. So if you put XPath here, then you have to write XPath ID for different like for different set of allocators, we have to write those many number of methods. Instead of writing that one, so just we are writing some by class and we are passing that by. Okay, it can be anything by dot XPath, by dot CS selector, by dot ID, by dot. Okay, different allocators that we can use. Okay? So with the help of like we are passing it as like a parameter. Based on that parameter, it will take it and it will pass it as like a parameter in the presence of element locator. If it is there, it will return in the element. So based on that element, if you want to click on it, you can click on it. If you want to get the text of it, you can get the text of it. Okay, so everything will be done with the help of this particular method calling. Okay, so I'll just remove this one. And this is kind of like a example that I want to show you of exactly the fluent wait filter. Okay, so this is the recap, guys. Please practice it, and it's like very simple. You not to worry about like we don't write any complex. We did not start any complex coding here. Only we have written like some. This is like this method is already available. So directly you can copy paste it. Okay, so you can copy it and paste it there and change this. Okay, so that's nothing but driver is like driver. And what is that web element you want to return? You can return the web element. So for that we have written a small function. Okay, so here see what I've done, so I've just copy pasted it, right? So here I've taken it and copy pasted that. What it is returning is like weight it is returning. Just you have to put weight driver weight. Okay. So if you want to call this, you can call it inside this. So here also what we are trying to do is like web driver weight is equals to weight get fluent. So what it will return? It will return in the weight. So weight dot until is like again it is similar with that we have used in. I'll just expand this weights. Yeah. So an explicit weight. So explicit weight, what we are trying to do? We are creating object for this weight, and based on that object, we are trying to call this methods. Okay, weight dot until expected condition. So what is the expected condition here? Presence of element location. You can use visibility, whatever based on your requirement. For example, if you want to check for this image, okay. So what you have to apply? This is like visible, the element which is visible to us. So you have to apply visibility of this element. Wait until the visibility of this element. Okay. So here what I clicked on it, and I'm just waiting for this element to get visible. After visibility of that element, I'm just highlighting that element. Okay. So you get to see that highlighted, right? So that is nothing but we are waiting for that. Why do we use synchronization? To sync between the application and the Selenium tool. Okay. Application may load very slowly, but Selenium is very faster. Okay. Very faster. So it wants to perform the actions on the fly. Okay. Whenever it finds the element. But sometimes what happens, application is very slow. Okay. So here you see. So if I ask Selenium to find this element and click, when I click on it, Selenium doesn't understand, right? So whether it is loading or not loading. Okay. So it will immediately go and try to find the element of image. But this image element is not available in the DOM because see what is happening now when I click on this get dynamic data. So client is talking to the server. That segment application is talking to the server. So that is not aware by the Selenium. Selenium doesn't know about it, right? So Selenium is like only thinking that he has given the element ID and I have to find it and I have to do the action, necessary actions. But in between, there is some processing which is happening by the application. So that is not known to Selenium. So because of that reason, what we have to do is like we have to use the synchronization methods. Okay. So and other thing is like implicit weight, explicit weight, fluent weights. So based on like every weight has got its own definition and pros and cons. Okay. The pros and cons is like, for example, see page load timeout. So here we are giving some timeouts here. Okay. So to measure the application performance, for example, the application is loading, it's taking more time. Okay. But if we are not using the default time, what is the default time of this page load timeout? 300,000 milliseconds. Okay. That is what we have talked about, right? So that is nothing but 300,000 milliseconds. So here we are trying to override that. Okay. So why do we use it is like, see now, if we click on some, like when we enter the URL, click on submit, then you will wait only hardly for 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. 2 minutes is like max. So that is like performance issue. So in that case, what we do is like we'll report the issues like, the application not loaded in given period of time. Okay. So the user can't wait for forever, right? So now we are like, moving into the fast world. So everybody wants it like, loaded fastly. So in that case, we can report the issues. And second is like implicit weight. For example, if you don't want to apply weights for each and every element. Okay. So in that case, what we are doing is like we are trying to apply this weight for each and every element. Like this is like maximum weight. Okay. So minimum, it can be anything. Like minimum is like less than 30 seconds, everything is like minimum. So maximum is like we wait for that particular element, every element on the web page for 30 seconds. But the thing is like when we are giving something as like, implicit weight and applying the explicit weight also. For example, I'm going to take this explicit weight and apply within the implicit weight. What it does is like, say it's kind of like a overlapping. So here we give 60 seconds, here we give 20 seconds. Now, for example, if that particular element is not identified within the 20 seconds, I want to get the timeout exception. But what it will do is like it will add that 30 more seconds again. 20 seconds it will wait, again 30 more seconds. It's like altogether like 50 seconds. But that is not a good test case, right? So we should not wait for that particular element for more number of period and more like in a more period. So that is the reason why we don't appreciate people to have this implicit weight and explicit weight within the same test case. Okay. So, but this implicit weight will be applied on the driver, explicit weight will be applied on the particular web element. So mostly we appreciate people to use this explicit weight. Okay. So it is only individual to the element. But in case of implicit weight, so it is applied for whole driver at a time. Okay. Whole driver session. So if you are opening that particular driver, okay, and you are trying to perform some actions here. So let us take like, this is not the only case, right? So I'll click on the home page. I'll just go here and enter the URL, submit, enter these details, click on submit. After that, I'll go to the web table. I'll add some details here. Go to this switch elements and click on this, do some actions. So these are sequence of actions. But when we use the implicit wait, what happens is like it will be applied for all the elements. Okay. So like again, we are applying some explicit waits here. So in that case, what happens? Two waits will be added, implicit wait and explicit wait. If you are not finding that particular element, if it is found, that is good. If it is not finding, then it will it will wait. It will, the weights get added and it's kind of like, we'll be waiting for that particular element more time. That is what we should not use implicit wait and explicit wait in congestion. So we have to avoid that. Okay. So fluent wait is like, as we saw that we are going to write this fluent wait. Now you see, we have created all this different set of weights, methods to have the weights on this particular condition. Based on that particular condition and ignoring this particular set of exceptions. In case if we get any exceptions, we are trying to find that element. So sometimes it may return no such element exception, stale element exception, or timeout exception. So if we want to ignore these exceptions during the pooling time, okay, that's nothing, but we are trying to pool the time and we want to find that element. Okay, after everything is like, we met the duration and the pooling is like done 0, then in that case, what happens? It will throw this exception, like, whatever we have, like it may throw the exceptions or it may directly throw the timeout exceptions. Okay. So that is the reason why we are going to use the fluent wait. What is the, see, the general things that they are going to ask you in interviews, like what is the difference between fluent wait and explicit wait? Explicit wait will wait for that particular element for the given period of time. Okay. So it is only applied for a single element. But fluent wait does the same thing, but ignoring the exceptions. Okay. But you can say that explicit wait is also part of fluent wait. Okay. It will extend the fluent wait. But fluent wait has got the different advantages, like there are a lot of methods and you can just, throw the exceptions with, and you can have the messages also. If you want to return some message, you can return the message also. Okay. So, but this is not available as part of explicit waits. Okay. This is very, very, very important topics in the interview, and generally I'll get 2 to 3 questions on this implicit, explicit, all synchronizations. I'm talking about like all synchronizations. And the final thing is like, if explicit is not working, explicit is not working, and fluent wait is not working, so directly we have to use thread.sleep. Okay, thread.sleep is like, it will definitely stop that execution for 3 seconds. Okay, so it will definitely stop that execution for 3 seconds. Okay, so there is no point. So it's like, it will definitely stop this. Okay, so but this is not appreciated. Whether you find the element or you don't find the element, the execution will be halted for the number of seconds that we have given as part of thread.sleep. Okay, so this is like 4th synchronization, but mostly if these things are not working, implicit wait not working, explicit wait not working, fluent not working, in that case directly we go and use this particular wait called thread.sleep. Okay, so that is part of Java. So that is part of Java. Thread.sleep is like part of Java. Implicit, explicit, and fluent waits are part of Serene. Okay, if everything is not working, then directly we can use the thread.sleep. Are you clear with this, guys? Do you have any questions now?
Yes, clear, Shrikant.
Okay, so please practice this, guys. This is very, very, very important. We are talking about, like, we talked about XPath, CSS selector, and we talked about synchronization. We'll be talking about more on this, like, in congestion. Now you see, so XPath is embedded here, like, so it'll be like in hand, the things will go on now. So I'll be using this page load timeout. I'll be using sometimes like explicit wait. Sometimes I'm going to use the fluent waits. Okay, so we'll be adding these things like hand in hand. We'll be going this kind of like we'll be adding these things as like a chain. Okay, so we look into like how do we load this particular browser, Chrome browser. But in case like we have Firefox and we have to open the application in Edge, and we have to do some set of actions on Edge and Firefox also. So how do we do it now? So we have to use the mechanism of like a simple thing, like we have to set the properties and we have to load that particular driver. Okay, so if you want to avoid this, I'm not sure like to tomorrow when I come back and see that there is a Chrome version 101 and the driver is like 98, the driver will not support. So in that case, what we have to do is like we have another way of dynamically loading the Chrome drivers. Okay, and it is like everything is like loaded in the cloud. So it will automatically take that particular version of that Chrome driver and it will invoke that particular driver and it will connect with the browser. So how do we do it? Is like we have a jar file. That jar file is called WebDriver Manager. Okay, so we'll try to implement that WebDriver Manager today. So first we'll look into the different browsers. How do we register this particular drivers and how do we load them? Okay, how do we load them and how do we invoke the browser? So that we are going to see. Okay, so here I'm going to create a particular folder or package, you can say. So I'll say browser drivers. Selenium. So here, firstly, we looked into this, right? So I'll just copy this. The same code. Create a class here. Chrome browser. I will see that how do we dynamically load them also based on the conditions. Okay. So if I say Chrome driver, so now you see. We'll go and execute them. Chrome browser. There is one. Okay, so remove this. And run this. Okay, it identified. I'll close it. So instead of that, we can use d.driver. Wait. So this is for the Chrome. Okay. So let's go and write a program for Firefox. Firefox browser. Simple. I'll take the same thing, whatever code we have here in Firefox. Only the thing is like I'll be changing this string. Okay. So browser driver. So we are pointed to the Chrome, and here you can see we are pointed to the Chrome driver. So here I'm going to go give the Firefox driver. So I need to change it, right? So go back to this Selenium. Here you can see drivers. Browser service. Yeah, let's go to the documentation. Okay. So documentation and whichever browser it is supporting, it will show you. Okay. So now we have IE drivers here, IE driver server. We have Selenium web driver. Web driver, we have drivers. It should be available here also, and browsers we have. So what browsers compatibility what we have is like everything will be shown here. Firefox specific functionality. So I want to get the Firefox, then it shows like we have options and we can pass the parameters. So on. So it will show you like all the list of things that we can perform. Okay. So how do we install it and how do we do it? What are the options that we can apply? So profiles, we'll discuss about profiles and options a little later. So it's not shown here. Let me go to the downloads and it will go to the browser supports. Here you can see browser supporting. So Firefox is like browser which is supported. Go to the documentation. So what is the navigation? So we have that available in downloads also. Downloads and documentation also. Documentation, it will talk about like what kind of browsers it will support and what are the options that are internally supported. Okay. So here you can see Chrome specific functionality. So if you want to apply some options like, if you want to maximize or add some arguments, so that we can do as part of this. So I'll show you like how do we do this. So in case like headless, if you want to run without opening the browser. So headless, we can apply this particular options. First, we have to create the options and we have to supply. Okay. Let's not discuss about this now. Just giving a heads up about it. Go to the downloads. Then scroll down, you'll see the browsers here. So click on this Firefox documentation, it will open. Which is the latest one is like, this is the latest one edition. Okay. So you can just download it from, yeah, here you can see Gecko driver releases. Click on this Gecko driver releases. You'll find the options here. Okay. So Linux, everything is Linux. Now we have like a Windows. Okay. So just click on this. So how do we navigate it? I'll show you again back. Click on the downloads, scroll down, you'll find the browsers. Click on the browser, we want Firefox. Click on documentation. After that, you can see all the Gecko and Selenium is showing up. Okay. So after that, go to the Gecko drivers. You can see the details. Okay. Everything is like put in the GitHub. So scroll down, you'll see. So Windows 32-zip. Click on it. It will download. Okay. Extract all to this particular location. So once you extract, so you can get this. Copy this Gecko driver, go to your Selenium scripts, and you can paste it under browsers. Okay. So once you paste it, you can see. So there is already there. Okay, I'll overwrite all of them. You can see Gecko driver. So change the location, like whatever we have given here, string is like Chrome driver. We have to give Gecko driver. Okay, for Firefox, we have Gecko driver. So we have to change the string. Okay, so it should be a string. What is the property of Gecko driver that we can search here? Okay. Back. And you can search for this. Okay. So system property of Gecko driver. Okay. Type for this. First, for Firefox, for Chrome, it is simple. WebDriver.chrome.driver. For Gecko driver, we have to check for this. Okay. So it's documented. Let me just take it on as right. Selenium. So I'm taking it from Stack Overflow. It's not working fine. So this is kind of like another forum for we have, so we can check everything here. Okay. So it should be like, so it says like WebDriver.gecko. So let's try with WebDriver.gecko.driver. Okay. So now try to run this program. So it should open a Firefox and it should execute it. Everything is, if everything is fine. Now it's going to try to find the Gecko driver. Yeah. Now you can see it is opening in Firefox. And closing. Okay. So it is working fine. We don't have any exceptions here. Don't worry about the errors and all. So it is like we can resolve these errors with the help of like WebDriver manager. So that was that I was talking about jar, right? So next is like we want to do the same actions on the edge. So how do we know? So we can write edge browser. So now we have to change it to a edge driver. Okay, let's put edge here, and then I'm just changing it in first in code. Then I'm going back. So what is that I have to search now? It is like edge. So here we have a edge. Click on this documentation. You can see all the releases versions are given here. Okay. So edge only works on Windows, right? So what is that x64? Our what is the processor and all? What we have is like we don't have x64. We have like x64. We don't have x86. Okay, x86 is like different bits. Okay, so this time clicking on this x64. x86 for the older versions. Okay, newer version is like 60 like bit operating system. What we say is like 62-bit operating, 64-bit operating system. Otherwise, we have 32-bit operating system, right? So we have like 64-bit operating system. So how do we find out this? So we have my PC. Here we don't find any Windows system. Here you can see. Okay. So it's like installed 8 GB RAM. And what is that? It's like system already. Bit operating system. It's nothing but 64-bit operating system. Okay. So x64 based processor. So based on that, we have to download that. Okay. So now I'll go and download this x64. Now it is downloaded. I'm going to the download. I'll extract this. Extract all to. Copy this MS Edge driver. Paste it on the browser. Now we got the MS Edge driver. So I'm going to give MS Edge driver.exe. Okay, so everything is loaded. Web driver edge.driver, and we have MS Edge driver, and we have a Edge driver browser. So it should open in Edge now. Okay, so application open in Edge. It will highlight and it will close. Okay, so this is how we'll be loading the applications on the different browsers. Now it is like a challenge, right? So I cannot remember what type of browser that I want to I cannot monitor these things now. So every time I cannot see this what version we have in Chrome, Edge or Firefox. To avoid this, what can we do is like we can have one jar file which is added as part of our project is like Selenium, WebDriver Manager. So that is part of Bone Garcia is like a organization. It is going to provide us the details of it. Okay, so we can directly say that WebDriver Manager jar. So latest jar download. You can see we have a jar, download jars. Here you can see download WebDriver Manager jar file with all dependencies that we have. Okay, jar file with all dependencies. So once you click on it, you can see this window, like nothing but this page is loaded. And here you can see it will show download driver manager. Okay, click on this. Okay, let it download. So before that, what we can do is like now I want to change this. I don't want to give any browser or something here. So I'll be adding third called web driver manager dot set dot. If you want to load the Chrome, you can load the Chrome. Okay, Chrome dot setup. This is the only piece of line that we have to write, and we have to use the Chrome driver. Okay. Oh, let's see what it is doing now. It has downloaded this. You can see jar files it is showing, right? So just click on this. Right click. Extract the jar to. You can see this one. Open this folder. You can see all of the details about this jars. Okay, you need to add all these jars. So how do we add it now? Go to the project, right click, build path, configure build path, click on libraries, then add external jars. And it will take you to that downloads. Now you can just double click on this. You can see all these jars are there. Control A, select all of them, open, and you can apply and close. Okay, once you apply and close, you can see all this jar files will be available under this particular reference libraries. Okay, you can see all of them will be added here. Okay, Docker, So you can see these are the new files which are added: Jackson, HTTP port, Goa, JSON. So these are like all types of jar files. You can see WebDriver Manager also 5.3.3. Okay. So once you add this, automatically it will take care of all the versions. Okay. So driver versions. So if we have tomorrow, let us take like what is the version of Chrome. For example, if you have Gecko driver 0.3.3. So tomorrow it may change to 0.3.5. In that case, what it does is like it will show the incompatibility. Okay, so this driver is not compatible with the browser. To avoid all these things, what can we do is like we can use WebDriver Manager. So this is the class. Okay, so I'll be attaching source for this external file. We have a source. Since you don't have a source for this, let me just try it again. It's a jar file. This is not a type jar file. So we should have a source for this. Source is not available. Okay, let's try to do it little later. So when we work with the Maven, right? So there I can check for the sources. Now you see that what are the methods that we have in this particular WebDriver Manager class is like. So we have a Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and we have IE driver, Opera, Safari. Okay, so these are the supporting drivers that we have from Selenium, right? So everything will be registered here. Okay, so Chrome, if you want to set up the Chrome driver, what we have to do is like WebDriver.Chrome driver.setup. Just say this setup, then what it does is like it's going to set up a driver for this particular Chrome browser. Okay, now you're going to execute this. So it's going to execute application in Chrome browser. So I want to make it dynamic. Okay, I want to make it dynamic. So for that, what I'm going to do is like I'll write a simple piece of code, open browser. Okay, so public static void open browser. Here I'm going to write as like if I'm going to pass a parameter. Okay, so I'll take browser type. Okay, so browser type in the browser. So this is nothing but enum. Actually, I'm going to create enum is kind of like a container. Okay, it's kind of like a container wherein it will have the constants. Okay, so constants, how do we use the enum? I'll discuss about the enum. So I just want to show you like so for example, we have this particular browsers. Okay, so it can't, if we are defining anything as part of a enum, so that will be like a constant. Okay, if you are trying to access the constant from that enum, only those constants can be accessed from the enum. Okay, for example, if you want to give xyz or something, it will not work. Okay, so I'll show you how does exactly enum works. Okay, so now I'm just creating enum. Okay, these are like a constants. So what I'm trying to do is like I'm creating enum. So if I want to see that, okay, so that browser dot we can use this. Okay, see now in this way also we can give. I'll give in this way. Browser equals. Now there is no point of giving any other browsers apart from this. Okay, whatever we have is like it will go and check for those browsers which are registered as part of like a enum. Okay, so like if I give something here, for example, I give 1 to 3. Okay, so this 1 to 3 is not there in this browser type. So what it does, like it will not, it's nothing but it's going to throw the, it's going to throw, or else it's going to return like this condition is false, right? So it's going to throw a boolean value is like false. Okay, so let's say that browser. So I'm just giving a notation here like browser not available. So we cannot allow any other browsers apart from the browsers that we have defined as part of like enums. If we are using this enums, okay. So if this we can use, we have other alternates also to make it little dynamic. Okay, so just I want to have this browser. Just I want to execute my application only on these browsers. Yes, these are the keywords. If these keywords matches with this one, so then it will go and load this browser. Otherwise, it will throw the error browser not. So here I am going to call this one. That I can use like top Chrome. Okay, so now you see when I say browser.chrome, only I can get the constants which are defined as part of like browsers. Apart from that, I cannot get everything. So Chrome, Edge, or any of the value of the browser. So you can give some value here. You can say so Chrome or 1, we can map it. So if you have a value over there, we can use the mapping also. Okay, so but you can see here the direct way of using this is like see, I cannot use anything apart from these browsers. So browser types of like these browsers. If I'll show you what is the problem actually. Okay, when we don't use this set of things. Okay, I will see open browser Chrome. So here I want to show some error. That's nothing but I'm going to throw exception. You throw exception. I want to make it as like an exception. Okay. The exception is here. For the declaration. So here also we have this declaration checkpoint. Okay, I'll remove every unused here. Now you see when I go and use this, it will throw the exception. Browser not found because there is no browser name with Chrome 123. Okay, so it only executes when that particular thing is matching. Okay, now you see it's not matching. Let me just check. So browser type, I'll just set it to value. I'm just setting it here. Compatible type. Set out. So we are getting this browser, right? So here I'm just trying to browser dot Chrome. I'll just try to add it guys. Okay. Dot value of what is that? Actually, I want to get is like I'll explain about this enums, guys. This is not forming this browser type. Okay, I'll just clear the browser here directly. Browser dot equals to Chrome. It should match it and it should get the value of it. Okay, let me just check that one also. So now this is executing, right? So what I'm trying to do is like I'm just passing this browser. So only thing is like I can change here. So if you want to execute it in Edge, so I can give the Edge now. Only one place I'm just, okay. For that, we have to load this, okay. So I'll be changing the logic for this now. So only writing some if else block here. If that is not matching, I have to check the other one also. Okay. Else. I'll remove this one. Remove this one too. So here, Firefox, I want to use here Firefox driver. Here, Edge. Here. Edge driver. It is nothing but else if, guys. I'm sorry for that. I just changed it if else. Else if, else if. So what this doesn't work, right? So if that condition is not, if you are not putting up this condition not equals to null, okay. So then what it does, like every time it's going to execute this one. So but for this, what we have to do is like equals. So if it is like Chrome, then I have to exclude this one. Dot equals, if it is Firefox, I have to exclude this one. Browser dot equals, I have to exclude this one. So based on that condition, so if I'm calling it as like edge, so it should execute this edge. Okay. So let me go and try to execute now. Browser not. So let me check this one, guys. Actually, we can directly use this. So because we are trying to use this browser type, right? So browser type is a enum. So from that enum, I'm going to pass the browser. So what is that browser type actually I'm passing here? I need to change this one. So it is expecting me to change this browser type. Okay. So if I say string browser dot equals. So now we are getting is like edge, and here we have a string. Okay, so let's do with the strings first, and then I'll talk about like enums. Okay, so what we are trying to pass here is like C. So if I want to load the browser like edge, it will come here and it will check for this condition. Okay, so we need not to use the suppress also. Then we'll discuss about like why do we need to go with the browser type. Okay, so now you see, first it will go and check for this browser type. What is that edge? It will come here. We'll call this method open browser. What is the browser that we are trying to open is like Edge. Edge doesn't equal to Chrome, doesn't equal to Firefox. That it equals to the Edge. Okay. So now you go and execute this. It should be executed in Edge. Why do we need to use enum? Is like just we are going to specify few set of constants over there, and we cannot use apart from that. Okay. So if you are writing some condition there, like for example, if you want to see that only I want to load my application on Edge or Chrome or Firefox, I can go with this approach. Otherwise, it's like I can go with the switch also. I can go with the browser types like enums also. Enums is like best thing because we are going to have those constants defined there. So nobody can go and change those things. If we are changing, like if you want to add few more, like Safari. So down the line we got some requirement like we want to execute them in Safari or we want to execute them in Chrome. So likewise we can keep on adding them. Okay, instead of like here also we have to change that code, but instead of changing them in other places, directly we can go and use that particular enum. So what is that we have defined now? Firefox browser. I changed it Firefox, right? Okay. So let me AUT application under different browsers. Okay, so Firefox is already there. I'll not change the code of this Firefox because again it would be a example that will be lost. Okay, so driver, web driver. manager dot Firefox dot setup. That is equals to new Firefox. Okay, I'll remove these things for the Firefox example. But this example will be there for AUT, different browser examples. Okay, so I've taken only for today. I'm just showing you for the strings. Tomorrow we'll discuss about like what are the browser types. Why did I create this enums? Is like I just want to make it more dynamic. Okay, more dynamic, and I want to restrict the number of drivers that we are passing it here. So if I give like browser type dot Chrome here, so it will only take the Chrome. Okay, so it will not allow any other things to get loaded. Okay, it was expecting here, it was expecting like browser type enums, only those enums I have to pass. Okay, so directly it should take it, but it's not. Let me check why it is not taking here. Okay, so there is another way that we can use it. So now you see what I'm doing is like I'm just creating a method here to open the browser. I want to open the browser in Edge. So I'm passing it as like Edge. So what it does is like it will go here, it will check for the condition. If the driver is equals to Chrome, it will load this driver. If it is not, it will go and check for the next one. Okay, so here we have to write if else statement. So you can write the switch also. Okay, switch conditions also will work fine. So else if it will check for this. If any of this browser is not found, then it will say that browser not found. It's kind of like a user exception that we are doing. Customize exception. Okay, let's check something 1, 2, 3. I will throw browser not found. Okay, so then we assume that okay, this browser is not there, so it is not registered. Like another thing is like we can put all of this stuff. Okay, so this is not required now. So not put now. I mean, like now we can make it as part of this particular method. Instead of writing them everywhere, we can just write it inside this particular open browser. Okay, now you see. Yeah, just opening this browser and it will highlight and close it. Open in Edge browser. Okay, now if you want to open in Chrome, so you need not write all this stuff, only you can change it as like Chrome. See it open in Chrome. And if you want to repeatedly execute from all this, so directly it's all up to us. Like you can just go and write them as like different browsers. I want to execute them, all of them. Okay, all of the browsers. So then what I can do is like I can simply write and write string. See how we are using these methods now. Okay, this is a string method that I'm trying to use. I want to execute all of them. So first it will execute the Chrome, close it. Then it will execute in Firefox. Then close it. After that, it will execute in Edge. So we are using string functionalities. So just we are putting everything browser inside that and trying to execute them one at a time. Now you see it will execute in Firefox. Done. Firefox done. Edge. It's going to execute in Edge. See all the 3 executions are done here. You can see this is for Edge and this is for Firefox. This is for Chrome. Okay, it's all up to us like how do you want to use it. Okay, so now you see it is going and checking this condition. It is loading that particular driver and it is executing this piece of code. Okay. So this is all about like browsers. How do we exactly invoke the browsers and what are the problems when we have a different set of drivers? Okay. I want to say that here we have the different versions of drivers. If you can't manage these different versions of drivers, then you can go and use this WebDriver Manager. So which is kind of a class. For this, we have to download the jar file, extract it and add it to the project. So after that, it is a simple command. Okay. So WebDriver Manager.chrome.driver setup. Okay. So after that, you can give d is equals to Chrome driver. So you can use this WebDriver Manager to avoid this kind of confusion with the versions. Okay. So automatically it will be kept. I'm not to do anything. In case of like, I need not to go and change these drivers and all. So if you want to have a different driver, then you can go and have the different drivers also. If you don't want to have it, you can just use this WebDriver Manager.chrome driver. Still, it will work when you use the system.property WebDriver.chrome.driver. Then you give the location of this and execute it. It will work. Instead of doing that, directly we are going to use WebDriver Manager.chrome.driver. Chrome driver setup. Okay, this is like easiest way. Okay, so the easiest way, and we have a dependencies also, so that we can have them handy. Okay, so for today I'll stop it here, guys. So tomorrow we'll be discussing about like, how do we handle the web elements. Okay, so in case of test, we have a text boxes, text areas, check boxes. Then we have like radio buttons. And then how do we exactly extract the text from the elements? So that we are going to discuss tomorrow. Okay. So please practice this, guys. This is very important. So I'm just insisting you guys to go through this video again and again. So about the browser types, enums, and I'll discuss tomorrow. I'll add this, like we have added this one, but I need to check why it is not accepting. So there is like another ways that we have multiple ways that we can access this particular enums. Okay, I'll show you tomorrow. So we can put it as like, we can give the indexing also. Like this one. Let me check this one. Okay, I'll just work on this enums and I'll let you know how do we exactly access this enum keywords in terms of browsers, as well as like we can use them for a variety of reasons. Okay, so we can just use this indexing also. Okay, I'll tell you how do we do that. Okay. Thanks for your time, guys. Let's meet tomorrow, and please let me know if you have any doubts. Please work on this. I'm going to upload all these programs today.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.